We on? All right, good evening, everybody. How you doing tonight? Hello, ladies. I almost heard you back there. How are you ladies doing tonight? Oh, man, you're all fired. All right, let's call the meeting to order. Let the record reflect that all council members are present and accounted for. And I guess I probably should say it's the meeting of September 10th, 2025 at 6:30 p.m. And tonight, we're going to start this thing off with an invocation, and it's going to come from Pastor James Class. He's a senior pastor of Calvary Chapel of Santee. And you can come on up, and what we're going to do, I'm going to tell us a little bit about you. And you've served the needs of Santee for more than 35 years. The church is thriving at its location at the end of Summit Avenue and offers worship services on Wednesday, Saturday, and Sunday. Pastor James Class is the newly installed senior pastor as of July 2024. You know, we probably can't say newly anymore.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to change that.
Got a whole year in there. Yeah.
Yeah, next time you come down, we're going to change that.
All right.
So James is married and the father of 4 grown children, and he pastors to church members of Calvary, and they're committed to praying regularly for the city council and its members. And boy, I'll tell you what, we sure need that. So, and then tonight, right after the invocation, we're going to have the Pledge of Allegiance, and that's going to be led by our future, if we vote on it. You guys, I don't know, we might not pass that tonight. Wendy Kaserman.
We'll have discussion.
We'll have a discussion about that. Okay. All right.
Say our title, Future City Manager. You said future.
Well, I don't want to put the cart before the horse, though.
Okay.
Please rise. Thank you.
Heavenly Father, we just come before you tonight, and I want to thank you for the city of Santee. I want to thank you for each one of these council members, Lord, as they have this desire to see this community be one that's growing and thriving and prosperous. Lord, I just pray that you would bless them in that endeavor and that desire. Lord, I pray that you'd give them wisdom, discernment, power, and strength for the task that's at hand. Lord, I just pray that you'd lead them and guide them each step of the way. I pray for your blessing to be upon them and all those who would serve this city. Lord, would you just watch over them and protect them and keep them safe upon them and their families? And I pray that same blessing over the city of Santee as well. God, would you be gracious and just rain down your goodness upon us? And would you be here, a part of this meeting as well, and bless it? And I just pray and ask all these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Thanks, James.
Mr. Mayor,
Yo.
if you would indulge us for just a second.
Sure.
I would really appreciate if we just take a moment of silence for the passing of Charlie Kirk. I think everybody's seen this all over the news today. It's a horrible, horrible situation that anybody that just wants to go out and have a dialect on anything gets assassinated like this. And I think if we can all just come together just for a moment of silence, I'd really appreciate that.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you bow your head just for a moment. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
You're welcome. Thank you. All right. Let's go to the next event, which is the introduction of 2025 Miss Santee, Miss Teen Santee, and 4 Miss Santee princesses. And helping out tonight to do that will be Councilwoman Koval. Thank you.
It's big enough I can read.
Do you need my glasses?
Come on, front, ladies.
Oh, yeah, come on up, all the way up. And you know what? Come up also, ladies, so you can take pictures. You don't need to do that from back there. Oh, we don't bite too hard up this far. Oh, and the young
Who's
man
running
can
the
come up
program
too.
this year?
Lauren.
Well, come on up. I would love you to say a few words about the program before we get into the, and introducing them.
Of course. Good evening. My name is Lauren Bachman. I am the director for the Miss Santee program and your Miss Santee 2004. I'm also a proud mother of a member on the court. This program is an amazing program that really helps these young ladies find their footing as leaders in their community, as ambassadors for their city. And we're very proud to have all of these young ladies here tonight. And we can't thank the city of Santee enough for their partnership throughout the years. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lauren. And James, would you be my Vanna and hand out the roses tonight? So I'm presenting the Miss Santee Pageant Court on behalf of the Santee City Council tonight. And first I'll start with the princesses. Ellie Capati, did I say that correctly? Elle Capati. She's 13 years old and attends Rio Seco Elementary School. You can clap. Ezra Collier. Okay, Ezra. She is 13 and attends Tierra del Sol. Tierra del Sol. I attended Tierra del Sol a million years ago. Ella Gieber. Thank you. I put in an R. I'm sorry about that. She is 13 years old and attends Hill Creek Elementary School. And last, we have Riley Levin. Riley is 12 years old and attends Cajon Park. Moving up to Miss Teen Santee. Woohoo! Samantha Dominguez is 15 years old and attends West Hills High School. Dustin. Both of my daughters attended West Hills. Great high school. Don't listen to Vice Mayor McNellis. And then finally, our Miss Santee, Ava Murphy, who is 18 years old and attends San Diego State University. And that's where I went to college. So all of my childhood and college life are represented, but what a great representation for the city of Santee. Congratulations, young ladies, and thank you for all you do for the city. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
I'd like to thank these young ladies for helping Councilmember Trotter and I judge the parties in the park at the concert. Thank you very much for doing that. You guys were awesome.
Yep.
Everybody was afraid of you, but you stood fast.
Especially
You stood
Samantha.
strong.
She's the one that really.
Oh yeah, she led
down.
the charge. Thank you guys so much for doing that. We really appreciate it.
All right. Now that the fun stuff is done, let's get down to some business. And tonight I have the calendar and the consent calendar. Are there any items to be added, deleted, or reordered? Councilmember Hall.
Nope.
Councilwoman Cole.
None from me.
Councilmember Trotter.
No, Mr. Mayor.
Vice Mayor.
None for me, sir.
Acting City Manager.
No.
City Attorney.
No, Mayor.
Thank you. Are there any speaker slips?
No, sir.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Please vote. Lock in your votes.
Motion carries unanimously.
All right. And that takes us to non-agenda public comment. Do we have any speaker slips?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, we currently have 6, and we do have 15 minutes for the first session, so I've got a timer going over here, and if we can fit them all in, we will.
Okay.
The first speaker will be Carl Constantino.
Hey, Carl.
Hi. I don't know if this is the right forum for this or not. I missed the Spark meeting, but I'm pretty heavy into living history, historical reenactments. Just wrapped one up at Mount Laguna last weekend, or the weekend before. Coming up the first weekend of October is a biggie. Been doing this one for about 20 years at Old Poway Park. The reason I bring that up, I'm just curious as to whether or not that might be something that Santee might be interested in doing. Basically, we just have a bunch of different encampments and of different time periods. So you could theoretically go from Native American all the way up to turn of the century, last century. I have a flyer here. If nobody's ever been to this thing, even whether or not Santee wants to do it or not, it doesn't really matter. But if you've never been to this thing, the one in Poway, you'll have a great time.
Yeah, you know, I think we've done Renaissance Fair a couple
Have you
times.
talked to the
It's-
Historical Society?
What's that?
You talked to the Historical Society?
I have not.
Okay.
Yeah, that might be a real good place to
Yeah.
start, because they actually do some things that are similar to that.
And that would be a better place because it has trees.
Probably. Yeah.
But
For now, anyways.
Yeah. Anyway, I bring it up only that because I didn't think about it and I couldn't make the Spark meeting. And if nobody's ever been to it, our new city manager probably has been to it. But I urge you to go. It's like 3 days. The first couple days, they bring in busloads of kids from the local schools, so they get a hands-on idea of what history's like.
Okay.
So I just
By the way,
wanted.
the board for that Historical Association meets on the second Tuesday of each month at 10 a.m. at the Polo Barn.
Yeah, and I actually have their number, or
Okay, great.
what's his name's number.
All right,
So
thanks.
anyway, that was it.
Thanks.
The next speaker is Renee Woodward.
Welcome.
Hi, thank you, Council. I'm unsure if my public comment made it through in the email about the Multiple Species Conservation Program Santee sub-area, but I'd like to voice my support for continuing with that. I think it's got a lot of potential for creating some efficiencies. And also, for those that are into environmental stewardship, there is a Clean and Green sponsored by the San Diego River Park Foundation this Saturday at Forester Creek. So check their website. I invite everyone to come out and join us. And the double plus bonus is that Sunny Grove will be opening at just about the time we're finishing up.
Great, thanks.
The next speaker is Hal Simmons.
Welcome.
Hi.
Hey there.
I've been a resident for about 39 years. I've got two quick issues. One is the lights that we have in Santee where you can yield on you can turn left or right on a green without a green arrow. I've been almost hit like 2 or 3 times in my walk, especially at Beltier and Mass Boulevard. And back about a few years ago, I complained to whoever's in charge in the city management of about this, and said you should put the yellow flashing light on the arrow, the yellow flashing arrow on that turn, because when you have a green light and you think you can turn, you get muscle memory says you turn and you don't look necessarily to the pedestrians. You have signs up there that are very small. They're not lit at night, and it's hard to read anyway. So it would make a lot of sense to put yellow flashing arrows where you turn left or right when you can turn on a green, like in Beltier and Mast. When I talked to the person that was supposedly in charge of traffic in Santee, he said, well, our lights don't do that. Well, I looked at the name brand on the lights in Santee, and the name brand on the lights in El Cajon are exactly the same company. Now, you may need to have an upgrade to do that. I don't know. Yeah. But anyway,
So let me make sure I understand. So there's a green arrow that gives a driver.
No, there's not a green arrow. Like if you have Beltier and Mast, it says you can turn left on a green light onto Beltier. Say if you're going east on Mast and you want to turn left onto Beltier.
Okay,
There's a couple of the ones. There's one over by Santee Lakes as well, where you can turn left on a green light without an arrow.
And you have a walk
and there's a
sign.
little sign that says "Watch out for pedestrians."
Yeah. Okay.
You know, you can't. It's small letters. It's not lit at night.
Yeah.
and the muscle memory says you got a green light, turn, that people look for cars, they don't look for pedestrians. I've got hit, and almost got hit in there like 3 times.
I think I saw Steve make a note of that. Yeah, we'll look at that.
Okay, and the other item that I had was, I know that you've been improving the roads on some of the secondary and tertiary roads in Santee. It would make a lot more sense to do, we've got 4 roads in Santee that need to be improved. That's Mission Gorge Road, Cuyamaca, Mast, and Magnolia. Mast is almost undrivable between Magnolia and Cuyamaca because of all the potholes and the cracks and all the other stuff. And you patch the potholes every now and then, but it would make sense to prioritize roads that have like tens of thousands of people driving on every day versus secondary and tertiary roads that only have like maybe hundreds of cars on it per day. Maybe just patch those and fix the major roads that everybody drives on. That's all I have.
Well, appreciate that. Good timing, because we'll be looking at road condition index and making some determination on some work to be
And
done.
in defense, you've actually made some progress on Mission Gorge roads.
Well,
Thank you.
Also on Mass, we have the,
The AWP project.
exactly.
Yeah, they didn't help at all.
So we don't want to repair a road just to have it torn up by,
One lane that can be repaired when they're not doing anything.
but when you do it, you get this economy of scale. So you want to do the entire road. And so we were waiting for that. They did repair the road, and then the repairs that they did failed. So they're tearing it back up again, and it's going to take some time. But yes, it is definitely on the agenda to get that done. We all feel the exact same way with regards to the major arterial roads, making sure that those are the priority for the city of Santee. So we're right there with you, but we also know when there's other projects that are about to happen or are currently in process that you don't want to build this beautiful road just to have dump trucks come through it and tear it up within the next year.
Yeah.
So you try and time all that out, and that's what we're trying to do.
I get it, but Mass is a disaster. I mean, it's almost undrivable.
Thank you.
Great, thanks a lot. Next.
The next speaker is Robin Reardon.
Hi, Robin.
My name is Robin Reardon. I live at 9232 Lapeer Court, Santee, California. Me and my ex-husband own property in the MSCP area, the 95% conservation area. In August, we sent you a registered letter saying that we would like our property withdrawn from the MSCP. We had the understanding from Ms. Best that the City Council had made the statement that anybody who does not wish to have their property in the MSCP can have it removed. I have yet to hear anything from the City of Santee to know that that aim has been accomplished.
Yeah, I've seen your letter and whatnot, and I think we're going to have to do some follow-up on that, because I don't know where that stands right now. Do you have anything at all on that, Sean?
I don't know, maybe Sandy does.
Well, we considered it as a public comment in the public comment period right now for the EIR, but Robin and I are also meeting tomorrow, so we can discuss this.
Please do not consider it a public comment. Please understand it as a demand that we be removed from this project.
Okay, we will note it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Al Smith.
Hello, Al.
Well, there's a lot, I guess, on MSCP today. My name is Al. I'm trying
Make
to
sure
build
you
a
get
house.
close to the microphone.
My name is
Thanks.
Al. I'm trying to develop up on the hill just north of where we're standing now. And I've been working with Michael, worked with the state, the ladies come down. It has been brought to my attention after reviewing all the data that I'd like to show you what's going on.
Okay, down there on the end.
Can you grab it?
That is one of your 2023 EIR reports, and it's a public announcement. And if you notice on page 2, you'll see
You
a
need to
high...
speak into the microphone. Thanks.
I'm Italian, we talk loud, sorry. That on there, and it dates back even further, that it has a wrong number. So when you call, and like Robin said, you make a demand or whatever, which I would like to be part of that too, to remove my property from it. But when you call and leave the message, and sometimes where it says Sandy on it, it'll say Michael Coyne on some of them and different other city staff members. But with that phone number, when you call that number, when it was Michael Coyne, contact number that, and you call it, it goes, "This is Michael, leave a message." So you leave a message and no return call back. And this has been going on for about 5 or 6 years. Speaking about public hearing notices and stuff being given out, currently I'm on Our Way and Prospect, which is a bad development area going on right now. Palm Trees Development public notice said they gave out all the notices. I'm on a list that gets all notices from the city. I can certainly tell you I did not get one. After working with James and getting the list of who got served the public notices, there was a few people on the list that didn't get notices, and there was a few people that weren't on the list that should have got notified as well. So I think that in particular project needs to be brought up again for public hearing. And it has to do, majority of it, with the culvert that the city tied in off of Prospect. The mouth is big enough to hold 10 gallons of water, but everything else 30 feet down the line can only hold 5 gallons of water, and it's destroying everything down its path. My neighbor's yard is coming into my front yard.
Where's that, Prospect and where?
Our Way?
Our Way, okay.
Yep, it's notorious. So, and I've emailed you too, Mayor, on a different issue that hopefully I'll get a call back. I've talked to staff. That's not fair to residents, shorting the residences and stuff like that. So hopefully we can resolve that as well.
All right.
I appreciate you guys' time.
Thanks.
And we still have another 3 minutes in there, so the last speaker is Brenda Hammond.
Hi, Brenda Hammond. I don't have my balloons with me. They're in the car. Sorry. But I want to know which one of you up there has the magnet, because I wasn't going to come tonight, but when I was leaving where I was, I headed this way. So I wanted to thank you again for the concerts. And then I want to piggyback on what I said at the last meeting and what I just said in another city tonight. When I'm talking about pop-up churches in crisis, I'm talking about these churches that pop up and go away after the crisis. I'm not talking about churches that are already here. So we had another problem today, right? So I just want you to notice that when there's homeless out there, or there's a flood, or there's a fire, all of a sudden we get these pop-up churches. And they're going to prey on you, P-R-E-Y, not P-R-A-Y. So I just want to point that out, and thank you. Thank you for the concerts.
Thanks, Brenda. All right, that takes us to item number 8, continued business. Introduction and first reading of an ordinance adding Chapter 8.10 electric bicycles to the Santee Municipal Code, also known as the Carl Constantine Ordinance.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the council, I'm going to give a little overview, and then Tari is going to do the presentation. But if you recall, last meeting, I provided a brief report about e-bikes and the city's legal authority to impose additional regulation beyond state law regarding e-bikes. At the time, council expressed an interest in receiving more information about e-bikes in general, and potentially looking at a draft of an ordinance regarding e-bikes, and particularly the issue that I presented, which is the ability to set a lower age limit for certain types of e-bikes. So we've prepared that information. It's in the staff report. You also asked for some information about e-scooters that Tari will cover in her presentation. I want to take a second, though, to point out a couple things about what you're going to hear tonight, because when we started this process, we thought it'd be pretty easy, because the age issue is pretty easy. It's just a simple ordinance to limit the ages of the riders on certain classes of bikes. So that's in the ordinance in front of you. However, when we dug more into the issue and we looked at our code, we thought it would be a good idea to consolidate everything on e-bikes into one section of the code, so it's all there. And we've done that and presented that to you in the draft form. But what we realized when we did that is that there's a need for some clarity on where e-bikes in particular, but also just bikes in general, where you can use those on certain places like city sidewalks, but then also it raises issues with regard to city trails and things like that. And so what we have done right now and what Tari is going to present focuses just on e-bikes. So we didn't address, in this ordinance, we didn't address e-scooters, but she's going to talk about that. We also addressed and provided clarity based on the current code on where e-bikes specifically can be in terms of sidewalks. We didn't address trails because we need input from you on some issues that Tari will raise. So the action item tonight is set up for you to conduct the first reading, but you may want to provide some additional input to us on either e-scooters or some additional information about e-bikes and trails. And if you do that, then we would revise the ordinance and we'd bring it back to you. So I just want to give you a little context about, even though the item's set up for first reading and we thought it was going to be fairly simple, it may be a little more complicated, and we just want your input if that's the case, and we can expand and add some detail based on your input.
How about the e-cycles? Is that part of the e-bikes, or they're?
No, so I think that the e-motorcycle part, Tari will cover that, but we don't regulate that because it is pretty clear you can't be on city streets with those, and there are some very specific limits. Now, you may be having some problems with those, but that's really a more enforcement issue than a lack of regulation issue. So. Okay. At least that's our view of the world. So with that framing, I'm going to let Tari do the presentation, and then we hope to get input from you on next steps.
Okay. Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and council members. With that introduction, I will jump in and a little bit ahead. As Sean said, you've requested additional information, and hopefully tonight we will provide that. I want to start with a discussion of the California Vehicle Code, which does preempt local government ability to add regulations to vehicle and traffic items so that the laws are uniform statewide. This chart gives an overview of current state law, and then I'll get into how and why you're able to introduce limitations on age. As a bicycle equipped with fully operable pedals and an electric motor that does not exceed 750 watts of power. The code also identifies 3 different classes of e-bikes. Class 1 is an e-bike, miles per hour, it stops assisting. A Class 2 bike does not require the rider to be pedaling, and it includes a motor that will operate automatically up to 20 miles per hour, and a motor that operates only when pedaling, but it will go up to a speed of 28 miles per hour. As a result, the Class 3 bikes require a driver's license, whereas the other 2 classes do not, and therefore you have to be at least 16 years old to operate a Class 3 bike. Statewide, there is no minimum age right now for Class 1 and Class 2 e-bikes. As you can tell from these regulations, the laws are different with respect to which category they are, and just as a brief overview, the code prohibits anyone under 16 from operating a Class 3 bike, but does not impose a minimum for Class 1 and 2. And riders under 18 always have to wear a helmet, but riders 18 and over only have to wear a helmet when they're operating at Class 3, a bicycle or e-bike. So the reason we're able to bring forward a ordinance for your consideration tonight that would impose age limits on Class 1 and Class 2 e-bikes over and above what the statewide regulations are is because last year the governor signed into law AB 2234, which is known as the San Diego Electric Bicycle Safety Pilot Program. It's a pilot program. San Diego County is the second county in the state after Marin County to offer this program. It will remain in effect until January 1st, 2029. And what it does is allow cities in San Diego County to to create a minimum age of 12 years old to operate Class 1 and Class 2 e-bikes. So anyone under 12 would not be able to operate those bikes. As part of the pilot program, cities that adopt the restriction are required to offer a 30-day public information campaign. It specifies that the first 60 days that the new limitation is in place, no tickets can be issued, but warnings can be offered to any violators. But after the 60 days, a $25 fine can be assessed, and the AB 2234 makes parents or guardians jointly and severally liable for the violations along with the rider. And as I said, the rule will expire in January of 2029 unless otherwise extended. So to go back to the original slide, if you do decide to go forward with an ordinance tonight or anytime to impose these restrictions, I've indicated here just what the brief changes to the regulations would be in the city of Santee, and that is just simply to impose the minimum age of 12. So what we've brought forward for your consideration is an ordinance that would add a new chapter 8.10 to the municipal code. We would call it the Electric Bike Safety Ordinance, and it will impose the age restrictions, but as the city attorney indicated, it will also consolidate information regarding e-bike regulations in general and specify or provide additional information about where e-bikes can operate and park within the city. I want to review what your code already allows, and to back up, as was discussed last time, the vehicle code preempts the local regulations unless specifically authorized. The vehicle code does specifically authorize, and the county or the city has already exercised its ability to regulate bicycles, which include e-bikes, in certain ways. Here are two examples of the way your code already regulates bicycles, and that is to prohibit bikes in a city park, recreation area, walkway, or trail unless it is designated as a bike authorized pathway. And I will note as an aside that those trails, et cetera, are identified on your website. In addition, your code already prohibits bikes and scooters from obstructing a sidewalk and related access points for pedestrians and even some vehicles. What we did in the proposed ordinance to add clarity about whether Class 1 and Class 2 e-bikes can be operated on sidewalks is to include direction that e-bikes on Class 1 and Class 2 e-bikes can be operated on sidewalks unless the city engineer has designated that and signed that sidewalk as prohibiting e-bikes. Class 3 e-bikes are prohibited on sidewalks statewide. So to avoid the risk of confusion about where these Class 1 and Class 2 bikes can be ridden, we did add this designation to the code as a proposal for you. The other addition is, and this is actually straight from the state law, but we thought it would be helpful to also include where and how electric bikes can be parked in the city. It's the same as state law, but we just wanted everything to be in one place since it can get confusing. That brings us to motorized scooters. Those two are regulated by the California Vehicle Code. They're defined as a two-wheeled device that has handlebars and a floorboard or a riding seat and footrests in place of a floorboard and is powered by an electric motor or even human propulsion. Generally, the operators of scooters have the same rights and obligations as a driver of a vehicle. Driver's licenses are required. And in this instance, the vehicle code allows scooters to be operated on bicycle paths and trails and bikeways unless prohibited by local ordinance, as opposed to being allowed by them. And the California Vehicle Code specifically says that they are not allowed to operate on sidewalks. Scooters are not included in the ordinance that we've brought forward. This is just a comparative overview of how current state law treats class 1, 2, and 3 e-bikes, and I added the scooters as well. I put in red what would change if you want to move forward with an ordinance. Again, it's just a minimum age of 12 to operate class 1 and class 2 e-bikes, and then to only be able to operate on sidewalks unless otherwise designated. You can see that the scooters are similarly regulated, but the speed limit for scooters is 15 miles per hour instead of 20 or 28. None of these classes require insurance or registration, and only the class 3 bikes and scooters require a driver's license. Also, they all do not allow passengers. So if you do decide to move forward with the ordinance, the timing and next steps is set forth here. Tonight would be a first reading. We could come back on September 24th with a second reading. If adopted, between September 25th and October 24th, the city could conduct the public education campaign, which entails, website information, social media information, things like that. The ordinance would become effective 30 days after adoption, and then that would trigger the warning period for violations. On December 23rd, the ability to fine violators would begin, and then it would be able to stay in place until January 1st, 2029. So with that overview, the recommendation would be to introduce and conduct the first reading of an ordinance, adding Chapter 8.10, the Electric Bicycle Safety Ordinance, to the Santee Municipal Code, and conduct a second reading at your September 24th meeting. Obviously, we also invite further direction or questions or any other information you would like.
Mayor, before we jump in, just Tari, can you, the ordinance that we drafted and presented also has a provision on business districts and sidewalks, so that's in there. You didn't speak to that, so maybe you can comment on that.
So let me go back to the sidewalk. The California Vehicle Code authorizes local governments to, let me find the exact language, to regulate parking and operation of bicycles and electric bicycles on pedestrian facilities, bicycle facilities, and equestrian, hiking, and recreational trails. This is not a new authority. It's authority that the city has already exercised in the provisions that I pointed out. The only new authority is the AB 2234 authority to impose the age limitations. So where the business district comes from is that authorization. I didn't specifically mention it tonight because it would be the same as a regulation of the sidewalks. You can prohibit e-bikes on sidewalks in a business district, and the business district is defined by the California Vehicle Code, and I have that definition if you're interested. It involves distances from business openings and on the street and things that Carl could speak to. But since it goes with the sidewalk, with the general sidewalk regulations, I just didn't segregate the two, if that makes sense. So that the rule is the same. Class 1 and Class 2 e-bikes would be permitted on sidewalks unless the city engineer says no and posts it. Class 3 e-bikes are not allowed on sidewalks at all. Does that help answer the question?
Yeah, I think to be more specific, if you were to adopt the ordinance we presented, you would be prohibiting it within business districts on sidewalks the way it's currently written. And then for more residential sidewalks or other areas, Carl could say, or the city engineer could say, no e-bikes on those sidewalks either. But I just wanted to make you, if you were to do it tonight and do the first reading and then adopt it, you would be banning people riding on sidewalks in business districts as defined in the vehicle code. Because that is in the document that we presented to you.
Speaker slips.
Carl Constantino.
That's all right. Well, you answered the thing. My first thing was going to be, why are we limiting this to e-bikes? Because most of the other cities that have put down ordinances kind of refer to electric micro-mobility vehicles, which include e-scooters and powered boards, whatever the heck that is. If what you're saying is true, the sheriff's department should be stopping and ticketing anybody they see on a scooter, because 99% of the people I ever see on scooters are little kids. They don't have driver's licenses. And you're just saying that the California Vehicle Code says you got to have a driver's license for a scooter. So something's disconnected there. Separate issue. Question, how intensive will the 30-day public education campaign be? Are we talking about a few emails and a Facebook posting? Or can it be expanded to, as I've said before, training, certification, maybe even inspections? That would certainly eliminate the I didn't know regarding e-dirt bikes. And I can guarantee you most kids don't know the difference between a Class 1 and a Class 2 or a Class 3. They're going to ride whatever their parents bought for them. Same thing about riding in business districts. How many 12, 13-year-old kids you know care about if they're in a business district or not? We were referring to California Vehicle Code stuff that nobody, I mean, most adults don't even read. 1080.A shall not operate at a speed that is greater than reasonable or prudent. Why is that so vague? If kids were reasonable or prudent, we wouldn't be having this ordinance. Why not something along the lines of shall not exceed the speed of other adjacent vehicles? That would eliminate them from zipping in and out of traffic. 1080B, shall exercise due care while riding on a sidewalk. I think we covered that. That's still really kind of confusing. How about you can't ride on any sidewalk that has a bike lane just adjacent to it? Because that's the bike lane. Ideally, you can't ride on sidewalks, period. But as far as 810.120C1, a violation of 10.73.040A shall be an infraction with a fine of $25. I can't find any reference to this 10.73.040A, and $25 ain't enough. Parents are going to be paying these fines. We got to make a fine that's painful to the parents, not the kids. Kids don't care. And again, I don't even know what that reference is to, because I can't find it anywhere. And I'm out of time.
You know, Carl, before you go, let me say this. I think the one that you're talking about, keeping people from going in and out, 10, whatever it was you said, I think because it's an electrical bicycle, it mirrors the California Vehicle Code, which is, for your reference, 22350. And basically, that is the one that says no vehicle shall travel upon a highway faster than safe for conditions, and that includes weather, visibility, and all those other things. So this would be very similar. So if you have somebody on an e-bike that's just, driving crazy, cutting in and out of traffic, I think you probably would be able to use that section. Does that sound about right? I think I saw Tom with the thumbs up.
I believe so, sir.
Right. Okay. So that's why, and if you actually read 22-350, it's sort of vague, like what you're talking about. And the reason why is because there's so many conditions that could take place on the roadway that you have to. I'll give you an example. When I was a police officer, I once wrote a ticket to a guy driving 15 miles an hour, actually for reckless driving, because the road conditions wouldn't allow him to go any faster in the way he was actually on the roadway. So let's say you have a bicycle that's going 15 miles per hour in those kind of conditions. Say it's unsafe pedestrians, it's unsafe for other vehicles and things of that nature, and the sheriff can write for that because of the, I hate to say vagueness of it, but because it's so encompassing to the type of conditions of roadway, if that makes sense to you.
Okay, it does make sense to me, except for the fact that how many kids are going to read section 22-350?
Doesn't matter because most people, when they get a driver's license, forget what they're told.
Agreed.
And so, and keep this in mind that these rules and the rules in the vehicle code are really a set of respects. People forget to be respectful to other drivers, so that's when we have to remind them via citation or otherwise.
Yeah, I agree. That's a whole separate issue.
That's why we do this the way we do it.
Okay.
Just my perspective.
Again, if you said something like you can't go faster in adjacent vehicles, a kid's going to understand that.
Yeah.
Okay. If you tell them you can't do it because of section 22-350, their eyes are going to glaze over.
Yeah.
So, and again, that kind of falls back to, I don't know what level of education you're talking about.
Yeah, well, that's something that we'll be discussing.
Okay.
Yep. Thanks a lot, though.
All right. I
Appreciate
still don't know what that 1073-040A is.
I can answer that.
Oh, cool.
Okay, thanks.
Because I looked all
It's it should be 810 point. Sorry.
You don't have a section 70 in the draft resolution.
I will double check that, but it should be 810.
Okay. Appreciate that.
To the correct section of the proposed 810, but we can double check that.
Laura?
Okay, thank you. Yes, I did ask, I was the one that asked to have e-scooters included, and I understand the reasoning, I guess, somewhat, but my recommendation is to have just as was mentioned, they're called different things, but micromobility is kind of the key word or buzzword or whatever. So a micromobility safety ordinance instead of an electric bike safety ordinance. And although maybe some of these other things are addressed in different parts of our code already, I do think that it makes the most sense to have like one-stop shopping for this and have it in one section. And even if you're repeating yourself across the code, when somebody's looking up this, they have everything they need to read. And so I looked up the definition, and it's any small, lightweight, personal vehicle designed for one rider, powered by electric motor, human power, or both, including electric bicycles, e-scooters, hoverboards, one-wheels, and similar devices. Excludes, I think it's important to put the exclusions in there, and there might be some things I've missed or a different way to say it, but excludes wheelchairs and mobility devices used by persons with disabilities. I understand that we're looking at two-wheel devices, but I think it's always important to, assure the disabled community that we're not looking at them. And I understand the intent of the law, but I also, as far as what the speed limit should be, and I'm kind of mixed on that because it is the judgment of the officer of what's safe and not safe, and I understand that. But if a person riding the bike knew that, I wrote a couple of ideas down, like, first of all, number one, you must yield to pedestrians at all times, and a maximum speed, 15 miles per hour on shared use paths or residential streets, I guess, and 10 miles per hour in school zones, parks, and I don't know how we feel about the downtown business district, so I'll wait to see what the other council members feel, if like we ban it outright or not. They must be parked upright and not obviously obstruct sidewalks, but also include ADA ramps, building entrances, or transit stops. Would the city have the ability to impound vehicles, or would the sheriff impound them, or they just write them a citation?
After several infractions, it does move up, the penalties do move up to include impounding.
And that leads to my question.
Hold on. Thank you. So I do like the idea of escalation with the fines. Do we have the ability to do that?
It is all dictated by the vehicle code, but that is part of the
Like first
ordinance.
offense, second offense, blah, blah, blah?
I think it's up to after the third offense, the escalate. And if I can find my draft of the ordinance.
Sorry, can you put up the one slide that has like everything in that chart form, the large chart form? I think it'd be helpful for just as the discussion occurs to refer back to what's already covered. Because I think one of the things you'll see, like, the conversation about pedestrians, and there's a lot that's already covered in the vehicle code that we don't necessarily repeat every time. And so I think what would be helpful for us is those kinds of comments about things that you'd like to see, like the micro-mobility, and consolidating that and adding, we'll add in scooters and bring it all back to you. That level, some of the details, it's going to be governed by the vehicle code. So maybe we can do a better job in the staff report explaining all the things that are already in the vehicle code. I think that would help, and we'll do that next time.
Okay.
While you're looking, I'll just, if I could, the city of Chula Vista was the first city in San Diego County to adopt regulations associated with AB 2234, and they did take a much broader approach and update multiple areas of their municipal code to come up with a micromobility definition and add that. And obviously we can do that as well.
Okay. And so when I saw the slide where it said $25 fine, there is escalation possible, and we're not tied to the state law.
We are tied to the state law.
Does the state law say we can do escalation then?
Yes. I'm sorry, here we go. Let me see here. So any persons, this is from state law, but it's included in the ordinance. Any person cited and convicted of 3 or more infractions of this chapter may be barred from the use of electric bicycles in city-owned parking structures, lots, parks, or other city facilities. That's the limit of what we can do. However, the next section is the city shall have the authority to seize and confiscate any electric bicycle operated in violation of these provisions if the owner is not present and cannot be present in a reasonable time. So there's, it's all dictated by state, but it's going to depend on the specific circumstances as the sheriff.
Okay, so there's no $25 for the first, 50 for the second, $250 for the third, and then we take, or something like that.
Not
it's
under
just
this.
25. There is within the code section underneath violations and penalties, C number 2. All violations shall be punishable as an infraction with a fine of 50 for the first, 100 for the second, and a maximum of 250 be imposed for each conviction thereafter.
It'd be great if that information was like in a.
So let me just jump in. What we'll do is when we bring it back is we'll have the maximum escalation that's allowed by state law included for your consideration.
Oh, great.
Which is this, I think.
And then I'd like to include education efforts through not just the city of Santee, but schools, community groups, and vendors, at least that sell in our city. And I'd like to see annual reporting on citations, crashes, or compliance to track the effectiveness of our order. And then my last comment is really related to trails because I think that's the part I think that's going to be the most difficult for law enforcement to monitor. And I definitely at least read about a lot of abuse and people being afraid to walk on the trails with, it's not just one e-bike going down, it's a pack of kids and, you can't even walk past them. And so I definitely think we need a trail policy. And then I don't know how enforcement will work, really. We'll have to discuss that more. And those are my comments.
Can I respond to just a couple as you continue? On the education, we're going to work with the sheriff's office. They've already done education this summer, I think at least on 2 occasions. And we'll include, as we kind of work through a plan for education, as you said, the schools and vendors in the community and things like that. And then, on the trails, we can bring some ideas back at the next, assuming that the full council wants to hear more about trails. And we can work with the CSD, and also there's issues related to Berry Plan trails and things like that. So this is where I wanted to do the introduction because it got really complicated really quickly. And so, but we'll dive into that more and bring that back.
Vice Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a lot of questions on this as well. And I absolutely think we need to broaden the categories because, there's the single wheel motorized vehicles, there's the skateboards that are motorized. Single wheels can go 20 miles plus per hour on all terrain. Motorcycle or the skateboards will go up to 15 miles per hour. In the scooter classification, I'm dumbfounded. I think it's absurd that we're saying that you have to be 16 to ride a scooter.
Motorized scooter.
And actually, it said in the ordinance that you read or that you showed, it said or pedestrian powered.
Correct.
That's to me, pedestrian powered is your foot.
I was shocked by this too. There was a lot of the scooter things that were shocking, including you have to dismount to turn left. You have to dismount and cross at a crosswalk. I didn't know that about scooters. One thing we did not do was talk to the sheriff about the type of enforcement that you've already been able to do and what kind of issues like that.
So I think that there might be some miscommunication with the scooter. I believe some of those might be more for the mopeds. Some of those regulations might be more for mopeds.
Yes.
I have the
different, but we're talking about self-powered scooters that little 5-year-olds.
We would never stop somebody for that. I don't.
Fair enough, but this ordinance, if you read it to the letter of the law, that's basically what it states, and I think that's absurd.
Yes, sir.
So how do we remove? How do we classify it properly so that somebody later doesn't say, "Well, I want to sue my neighbor because this 5-year-old keeps riding their little scooter up and down my street"?
We can. There's several ways we can do it. I have the vehicle code here. It's sections 21220 through 21235, and we can follow what's in here. And I think that's the language that should be in there in the ordinance, but we can double check that.
That's what it says. We'll make sure that 5-year-olds aren't subject to citation. But
I'm being extreme because it is an extreme situation. But the reality is, you could have. I don't care if it's a 15-year-old.
This is why I wanted to do the introduction because again, it got very complicated. Way more. The age issue is easy, I think. Assuming you want to do that. But there is a lot of line drawing here that is hard because it is a big problem in certain areas, but then people do it all the time. And, it's just part of life in Santee, and we're not trying to change that. So getting that right is why it's going to take a little more time than we anticipated. And we welcome this feedback. We want more, but we're not going to have an ordinance that will, create a liability
I
for a
want,
5-year-old.
obviously, I want the youth to be safe. I want the adults to be safe that are around them, but I also don't want to be a nanny city. I mean, that is not our job. I mean, reasonable. And yes, technology has changed quite a bit over the last few years, making these things more widely accessible, more affordable, and reasonable, more reasonable to attain. But by the same token, there are, just because there are a few kids that do bad stuff, doesn't mean you outlaw it for everybody that's not doing bad stuff. The trails, Mr. Mayor. I mean, when we first talked about the trail systems going in, we're talking about in 2010, talking about these trail systems coming in and it's going to connect. We literally talked about it being a safe passage for bicyclers to utilize. We even talked about golf carts being on them because it would help patrol. We encouraged people to ride their golf carts on them. One, get them off the street so that's safer for everybody, but two, to help patrol them. And now here we are talking about removing bicycles from trails. I am absolutely not in support of that. I get it. It's, some of these kids get wild and unruly, but they're wild and unruly kids. It's not the masses. There's large groups of adults that take every weekend. They take long trips from Lakeside all the way through to San Diego, and they do utilize a lot of these trail systems. They're responsible adults. They're not, they're not the ones. They're not the Hell's Angels of the trail system. These are.
I have a question based on that. Are you saying that because of my comments or what's in the ordinance?
No, from your comments.
Okay, because I want to clarify what I said. I was not talking about banning any type of bike off the trails. I was saying that we don't have a way to patrol what's happening now on the trails and to bring that back so we can discuss, my understanding is all bikes, including e-bikes, they should be on the right-hand side, single file, and follow each other. So just to clarify, I never said ban them.
Okay. So,
No,
that's where I want to be very clear that is not what I'm looking to do, and I'm one of five. If the rest want to, that's one thing. It's not something I'm looking to do.
The ordinance doesn't address trails at all.
No, but you wanted to address trails.
No, we got into the details of what our current ordinance says and how it relates to bikes, and we had some concerns that we wanted clarity on. But this ordinance doesn't, and we're hearing it.
Then let me take it further.
Yeah.
So the other part of this is where we have this entertainment district that's being built, or theoretically going to be built someday, that we're trying to bring people in. The idea with that was, okay, we're not going to have a lot of parking because that's going to be a walkable, rideable. You're going to ride your bike down there or your scooter down there, and you're going to hang out and all. Well, if we're saying that you can't have these vehicles or e-bikes or scooters or whatever the case may be in business districts, that's a business district. So when we do these things, we have to begin with the end in mind, and that's down the road, but it's something that will affect that. I'm not in support of banning them in that situation either in our districts. If we're trying to, the state of California keeps telling us we need to get people off the roads, stop driving cars and gas cars. So a lot of people are buying these scooters and bicycles and things like that, and they're getting along and getting down to the stores and doing all that stuff. But we need to give them a safe way to do that. So when we tell them, okay, well, you have to apparently get off your bike and walk it now. Once you get into a business district, it's not going to happen.
So for clarity, that's not what the ban was. It's just on sidewalks.
Just on sidewalks.
So you would ride, basically you'd ride on the street. That's really the question for council that we need direction on is, are you concerned about e-bikes on sidewalks? If you're not, then it's an easy answer. If you are, then we've given sidewalks. So
yeah, it's a sticky wicket in that we do. We're trying to keep our citizens safe, and a lot of these things are a lot of these kids. I would rather see them on a sidewalk than in the streets, because if they crash, if whatever, they're in traffic. They're in traffic. On a sidewalk, you're out of the way. I get it. If you're walking down the street and you get a kid that's just got no class, no couth, no whatever, no proper upbringing, and they're trying to run you down because you're on the sidewalk as a pedestrian. There's also that side of it. There's a balance. It's like going down to Mission Beach and walking on the boardwalk down there. You know what? There's thousands of people walking. There's thousands of bikes. There's thousands of roller skaters. There's thousands of skateboarders, and it all seems to work out because people follow just the rules and kind of know. This may be something that as time moves on, there's more people doing this, that it becomes more reasonable. But I don't have, I don't know. I don't like saying you can't.
That's why what seemed to be an easy issue became very complicated
No, I
and was a
totally
concern.
understand it, yeah.
So I mean, I want to hear obviously from the rest of the council, but I mean, I think it's easier just to focus on the age limit right now.
Can you go back to that
Yeah.
slide that Sean had you bring up?
Too much on this one.
Fair enough. I agree with that. So I'm still going back to the minimum age across the board here. The scooters at 16. We've got to figure out a way to address that.
That is motorized scooters, and it is in the statute, but yes, we will address that and bring more clarity to. Well, currently, the ordinance does not address scooters at all, but we will, we can bring forward what your code already says about them, and then
I think it's.
add
I
clarity.
just think it's absurd that you can a scooter that goes 15 miles an hour requires a driver's license, but a Class 2 bike that goes 20 miles an hour, or a Class 1 bike that goes 20 miles an hour, no problem. You can be 12 years old. It makes no sense to me whatsoever. I think there needs to be some parity there with regards to that. I just find that absurd. I'm fine with the 12 years old. I am fine with that on the Class 1 and Class 2. And the sidewalks permissible unless designated. If there's some specific area that's a town center community park and out there all the time, okay, maybe it's very difficult for them. But we need to do this with a little bit more with a scalpel rather than a chainsaw. And I'd like to see us look into this a lot more before we just pass something willy-nilly here.
Okay, so one of the things I was out on my bike today, for instance, which everybody knows is an e-bike, and one of the things that I was thinking about, because I go on those trails all the time, and what makes them safe or not safe is actually the width of them. If you have, a 4 foot or less wide trail, well, usually it's not like a Walker Preserve trail. It's some other kind of trail somewhere, and that's where you get into some issues with safety. Potential, because there may not always be an e-bike there or a pedestrian. So it's all that vague part of it. So so that's why I would say that using the engineer, for instance, and their ideas on whether or not something that because if you have a 10-foot or a 12-foot wide trail, chances are you're not going to have too many problems unless you got a bunch of kids being goofy. So I understand exactly what you say. I know I wouldn't want to be limited to where I can ride. Sidewalks, for instance, if you want to ride from between, let's say, Cottonwood and Magnolia Avenue on Mission Gorge Road, you're taking a life in your hands if you're on the street. Sidewalk there, like in front of the new Sedano Chevrolet, is a perfect place to be, on a bicycle.
What about the sidewalk between Finita and Mesa on Prospect?
Well, that's not so bad.
There is no sidewalk.
Yeah.
No,
Short answer.
on Prospect between Finney and Mesa, there is a sidewalk.
Well, there's a portion of it, but yeah.
Yeah,
It's gotten better over the years.
There's actually a sidewalk 100% of the way between there. You just haven't seen it yet.
It's all new.
So that's why I'm saying we need to bring that back. We'll talk about that more. Right now, we're talking about the age, and because some of these things that we're actually talking about, I don't think are even covered under AB 2234.
Correct.
When we talk about microtransit or whatever that was called in Chula Vista, so that's why we have to really stick.
Micromobility.
Micromobility. I think that's kind of a whole different kind of discussion for us, and probably an ordinance change even for us if it's allowed under California Vehicle Code. So I think we really want to stick to this idea of 12 years old.
Yes. Can I just make a, because
Yeah.
what I'm hearing and the way I'm thinking I can balance the different comments is, I do think it makes sense to kind of create the structure for a comprehensive regulation. And so, because it's in little bits and pieces of our code already. So I do like the idea of pulling it all together, but I don't want to add anything other than the age issue.
Right.
And that's what we're going to bring back to you. And then as part of that, we'll also address an education campaign. And we will also have some more information about trails and sort of enforcement/policy issues related to trails, not to ban them, but to try to make sure that they're safe for everyone. And then we'll also have whatever escalating fines we can have that's allowed by law. So that would be my recommendation to you.
Okay, Ron?
Okay, mine's gonna be real quick. We've already talked about the fines, so that's fine. The training class, are we gonna have any, we are gonna work on training classes. How about a mandatory training class for, maybe if they do get the second one, where similar to traffic school, where they have to go to a traffic school type of thing?
My understanding, I don't know if the sheriff, but there is some existing provisions where there can be training, like essentially in lieu of some of the fines. So we can bring that back to you as information, but I think some of those exist already.
I'm looking for, if you've got your third fine or fourth fine, it's like, okay, well, plus you get congratulations, you get this too.
Yep. There's a diversion type program.
And then, well, let's get your scooter back.
And that could actually be done on the very first citation, because that was one of the options is diversion.
Yep.
Yeah.
And, I think it would be a good idea to put something on Santee TV, obviously. We have all that.
I think we already do.
But I think this would be specific to the new age limit, and it'd be part of the education campaign.
Yeah, so I think that would be important too. Here we are again with Rob, with Councilman Vice Mayor, pardon me. We're in agreement. So it's a lot of things here that we're way overboard. So I think we just need to make it ordinance light.
I'll be quick.
Okay.
I've had, even from 2 weeks ago when we started bringing this up, and like Sean said, it got a little messy. I've had a combination of this whole thing from the very beginning because I feel like there's a lot here. But if you're only asking about the age tonight, right? I mean, at least thank you for simplifying this as we talk through the whole thing. I do have a question about class 1 though, because it literally says pedal assist, right? This is not throttle assist. The other one is very specific to a throttle assist in a class 2. I guarantee you someone can pedal a bike faster than 20 miles an hour. So what's the difference between an e-bike and a bicycle that is pedal assist?
It's the motorized part.
It's just a
I mean, I just bought one. I told you that last time, but I have it's a pedal assist. So the motor works when you pedal, and it assists you in pedaling. If you don't have that, you're not an e-bike. So if you just if you're, I don't know, whoever the greatest cyclist is,
pedal faster than 20.
Yeah, they pedal faster than 25. But that's covered by different provisions.
Right. That's where I'm having a lot of this combination. Is that again, it's a vehicle, California Vehicle Code and other provisions and all this that muddy the waters.
Yes. Yeah.
So
and I've clearly muddied the waters for you.
Yeah. Usually, though, a bicycle that is pedal alone, for instance, if it's a very high-end bicycle without e-bikes, you could still go much faster than 20 miles. But there's not too many
Those are
people.
adults, but
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There are not too many 12-year-olds on a $12,000 or $30,000 bike.
Right. That's my point. Is your pedal thing, you can pedal it that fast, no problem. So now we're restricting kids. So I'm going to figure out the difference between a pedal assist bike and a regular bike now. Really what it comes down to if we're telling that a 12-year-old can't.
If you see me,
bike.
If you see me riding up the big hills and I don't look very tired, I'm on a pedal assist.
Yeah, but again, you're an adult, so it's very easy for law enforcement to see the difference.
I think, Councilmember, the sheriff has a very good team that they really do know these laws very well that exist. And they've been very gracious with their time in providing us with information, and we're going to work closely with them to make sure whatever change is implemented in the right way.
Just one on the training. I've also heard that the schools want to partner with us also on this, and which is good because state law about 4 years ago, I think now, requires the schools to partner with local agencies to provide the actual locations for them to even do the classes. So whether it's during school hours or even after hours, they have to provide the location.
But they used to give away free helmets and things like that. We were part of that many times. I would like to see if the sheriff has anything to add.
Sorry.
I just want to say I do agree with the vice mayor that we want to let kids be kids if they're being responsible. We're not going to send, when the ordinance comes out, we're not going to have a task force of deputies going out hunting for children on e-bikes, right? We want to go out there, and if they observe something that looks dangerous or reckless, then yes, we will enforce whatever we can. But if they look like they're being children are children, right? And I think we have higher priorities in the city to address.
Amen.
And we allocate our resources that way.
So, Captain, to ask you this, would this help your deputies do their job any differently or better?
Yes, sir. I believe it gives them additional tools of enforcement, but we want them to have the discretion of when to enforce it.
That's actually covered in the vehicle code about spirit of the law versus letter of the law.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I'd really like to hear what our acting city manager has to say on the topic.
Humana.
I actually think that what you guys are bringing back is going to be actually pretty useful and clear.
Great job. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you, council, for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you. So then, do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
We're gonna just bring it back. So
Yeah.
no need
I
for
thought this
motion.
was for a first reading.
Yeah, but we're not doing the first reading. We're gonna clean it up.
Okay.
We're gonna bring it back, and it'll be aligned with what your comments were.
I
And at that
wasn't
point in time,
necessarily hearing that part of it.
yes. We'll bring it back.
We can just get it done and then you can bring it back.
No, we'll bring it back, Mayor. Yeah, we'll bring it back. Thank you.
No. It's funny, it's funny how you don't know what you don't know until you start learning about what you don't know. So, thanks a lot, Carl.
Right.
All right, that's you want to put up the next one? Great. Let's go on to resolution, item number 9, resolution appointing, what's this person's name, Wendy Kaserman? As city manager, approving city manager employment agreement, appropriating funds to the city manager's operating budget, and adopting amended salary schedule. Rita.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the City Council. The item before you tonight is the consideration of the appointment of Wendy Kaserman as city manager, the approval of Ms. Kaserman's employment agreement, the appropriation of funds to the city manager's operating budget, and the adopting of the amended salary schedule. On April 23rd, 2025, the city manager position became vacant, and the city manager during the recruitment process. The city then retained the executive recruiting firm Peckham. She has more than 20 years of local government experience. Prior to joining the city of Poway since 2016, she also worked for this department as well as the town manager's office. If approved, Ms. Kaserman's first day of employment with the city of Santee will be October 23rd. Wendy Kaserman as city manager, dollars from the general fund reserve from the fiscal year, to the fiscal year 25-26 city manager's operating budget, and adoption. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Do you want to come up and take a chance at talking us out of this?
Should we discuss this a little bit first?
Should probably.
Welcome, Wendy.
Heather actually.
This is the show. Get used to it.
I would like to congratulate Wendy.
Well,
tonight it doesn't happen all the time, and
Thank
I'm
God.
gonna speak for myself and the rest of the council. We obviously picked one of the best candidate that we had.
I think you're in support then. Okay, you guys can do it. Anyway, welcome, Wendy. We're very excited to have you here. We're going to vote soon. I'm going to vote now. And
What do you mean no?
I locked it.
locked in.
I wanted to let you know that October 23rd, we'll all be dressed up for Halloween, so you shall be too.
Anything to say?
I already said it. Welcome. We're going to appreciate you being here.
Okay.
Motion carries unanimously.
How'd I do that? And you know what? Let's go down and let's take a picture with her.
Absolutely.
Let's do that. Might want to take a picture of us too. That'd be cool. So it's that you do here, and I walked into the. Should have said that first, right? So, but thank you for being here. Thanks for taking so much interest.